It is Monday, the 27th of March, 2023. We're looking at Alexander Calder's Man 3 Discs on Ile Sainte Hélène in Parc Juxtaposed on Ile Sainte Hélène, to be more precise. And we're waiting for these clouds to move out of the way. I think they will, but it's going to take some minutes, maybe even half an hour or more before we see clearer skies. But it looks like we will see clearer skies if the clouds continue to move. I see the moon now. It's up above the crescent moon. So 2.5, 2 hand spans. 2.5 to 3 hand spans above the horizon. And I'm actually waiting to try and get some photos with the moon and Mars in relatively close proximity and Venus below the moon. It's going to take some time for them to set. The moon is actually quite high in the sky at the moment. Not quite at the zenith or anything, but much closer to the zenith than the horizon, shall we say. So it looks like we have some waiting to do to see the moon lower. But we have waiting to do in terms of seeing clear skies, or clear-ish skies. Still waiting for these clouds to pass. I think it will take a fair bit of time for them to pass and we get that clearer sky that we can see on the horizon above us, which will allow us to see the crescent moon, which I cannot see now because it's hidden by cloud, Mars to its left, if I'm not mistaken, and Venus below it. Jupiter and Mercury are quite close together, very low on the horizon. They might have even set by now. They might be below the horizon. They're essentially not really visible, because even if you had a line of sight to them above the horizon, I think the sky would be too bright to actually be able to see Jupiter and Mercury side by side. So I really only had realistic hopes of seeing Venus and the moon and Mars, and that's what we're here for. So we'll see what happens. Looks like my exposure's a little on the dark side here. Let's see, can I lighten things up a bit? I'm going to increase the ISO. Right now we're at ISO 500. And there's ISO 640. Is a little bit brighter, and part of the issue is the screen that I'm looking at matching, what's on the actual video. That can be an issue. I've tried to calibrate things so that what I see on the screen is as close as possible to what's on the actual recorded video, but I've found that some of the recorded video is actually darker than what I'm seeing on the screen, so I might have to do further adjustments as far as that's concerned. Anyhow, I think I'll boost the ISO up to 800, another third of a stop. Okay, so that's in terms of the clouds and in terms of Alexander Calder's Man 3 Discs, at least in terms of what I'm seeing on the screen, is pretty close to what I'm seeing, but that washes out the pinkish orange clouds, on the horizon. And I could even go another third of a stop lighter in terms of what I'm seeing on the screen, matching what I'm seeing with the eye. So I think I'll do that. But instead of raising the ISO to 1000, I think I'm going to lower the shutter speed to a 30th of a second. Right now it's a 40th. And we're at f7.1 for optimum optical quality. So we're going to a 30th of a second here. Okay. This, at least in terms of what I'm seeing on the screen, is very, very close to what I'm seeing with the eye. Maybe even slightly lighter. Definitely in terms of the bright horizon, as again, it's somewhat washed out. The dynamic range of the camera just isn't large enough to cover, match what I'm seeing with the eye. It's a bit more contrasty. You have to expose for one or the other. You can't have both. But yeah, if I look at the snowbanks, if I look at the sculpture itself, if I look at the clouds, very, very close to what I'm seeing. Color balance, I could make it a bit warmer. The clouds are somewhat bluer than what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a sort of neutral gray, not much blue really, maybe just a slight hint of blue in the clouds, whereas they look quite blue on the screen. But on the other hand, if I was to increase the color temperature to warm things up a bit in terms of the clouds, that would make the sculpture all that much warmer, and it's a little on the warm side already. So I think we're pretty well balanced in terms of exposure and color temperature, not to mention ISO, f-stop, and shutter speed. So that's that. I like to give some technical details of what I'm doing while I'm waiting for things to happen. We see in the background the Grand Rue, the Ferris wheel with the lights on it. What else? We see the tent of the Cirque du Soleil to the left. We see Place Ville-Marie behind the Cirque du Soleil tent. I'm not sure if you can see. I would expect the cross on Mount Royal to be there, but I am not seeing it. Which reminds me, I could put on some glasses. I haven't worn glasses for most of my life, even though I have, a bit of short-sightedness and astigmatism and this and that. Even though things get mushy after 10, 15 feet or so, if not less than that now. I never wore glasses. I was always able to figure out what's what. I don't drive, so that wasn't an issue. So, what I could see with my eyes without glasses is, good enough, as it were. But I recently did put some glasses in my coat pocket, so I have them with me on the off chance I need them for something. So I'm noticing that the clouds are somewhat darker now on the screen than what I'm seeing, obviously because of the lower light levels. But if I increase the exposure in terms of the clouds, that will make Alexander Calder's Man 3 discs a little lighter. Although I could do that. I could do that. Let's see. We'll boost the ISO. We're not going to change the shutter speed right now. We'll boost the ISO up to 1,000. We're just messing around here. We're just waiting for things to happen. And I'm just sort of messing around with technical stuff and explaining what I'm doing. Again, I cannot see the moon right now. I did see it earlier, but there's thick cloud between me and the moon at the moment. But we're waiting for that to pass over. And we're also waiting for the sky to get darker. Behind the clouds, it's a bit too light anyway to be able to get decent photos of the moon with Mars and Venus visible, to say nothing of Jupiter and Mercury lower in the horizon, but I suspect they're not going to be visible anyway because it's just too bright. I'm going to check Stellarium. I have Stellarium on my cell phone. It's 7:31 at the moment. I'm going to pull up Stellarium, see what Stellarium is telling us. So, okay, according to Stellarium, Jupiter and Mercury are side by side, very, very close together. About a bit more than a degree apart. And they're still more than 5 degrees above the horizon. But as we can see, there's cloud and it's bright, so we're not going to be able to see Jupiter and Mercury tonight, not only in terms of the brightness levels, but also in terms of the cloud. But there's a slight possibility that it might be possible to see them tomorrow before they go down below the horizon. And then up above them we have Venus and Uranus, relatively close together. Venus is right now 30 degrees above the horizon at 263 degrees to the west. This is slightly south of west at the moment. And then higher up we got, well, before we get to the Moon and Mars, we have the Pleiades and Aldebaran above Uranus and Venus. Notice I'm being polite in terms of the pronunciation of Uranus. So anyhow, yeah, and then the Moon and Mars. Moon is about 65 degrees above the horizon. Mars is even a bit higher, but less than 70 degrees above the horizon. So that's that. But yeah, not far from the zenith, which is at 90 degrees. Oh, I just saw on my screen this green satellite, Starlink. Okay, so it's Starlink going by, but we can't see it. It's hidden behind clouds. But that's what I like about Stellarium. We're rambling on here, but Stellarium's quite good about showing satellites and the ISS, International Space Station, and so on and so forth. So while I've been looking at my cell phone, I'm noticing that the sky has got darker. And as I said, it's darker than I'm seeing with the eye, but not by a lot. And Alexander Calder's Man 3 Discs, it's actually a little. I could lighten this up. I'll go to 1250 ISO. See what we get here. Okay, that looks pretty good. I could even go up to 1600, I think. So that's quite bright. But it's pretty close to what I'm seeing in terms of the sculpture. It's also closer to what I'm seeing in terms of the sky. This is, at least in terms of what I see on the screen, again, it might actually be a bit darker in terms of the actual video recording, or possibly lighter. And one of the reasons I'm doing this is so I can at least verbally, orally, check, what the actual video looks like compared to what I'm seeing on the screen. So at present I'm seeing sort of medium gray clouds, a little darker than medium gray where they actually are darker, and I'm seeing Alexander Calder's Man 3 Discs in good detail and then properly exposed, if a little on the warm side. It's definitely a bit more yellow-orange color than what I'm seeing. I'm seeing close to neutral gray with, how can I put it, a little hint of yellow in there, but not orange. It's basically slightly yellowish, not nearly as yellow as this. I think I will mess around with the white balance to see if we can get something closer to what I'm seeing. So right now we're on cloudy. This is flash. This is daylight, which brings us much closer to what I'm seeing in terms of color temperature, in terms of Alexander Calder's Man 3 Discs. But it's still more yellow-orange than I'm actually seeing, but then you see the sky is now bluer. It's not as sort of neutral. I'm seeing pretty neutral gray with a hint of blue. This is the issue with color temperatures too. You can't have everything the same. You've got 2 or 3 different sources of light in your photo, you can balance for one or the other. You can't balance for both. So, yeah, I'm actually enjoying this. Okay, here we have a helicopter coming across. We can see it on the left there. So, technical details. Oh, we got a guy in one of these sort of electric unicycle things going by there. So again, the clouds are, slow, but it's looking crap. Pardon my language, but like I was hoping for clearer skies. Oops, did he fall? I think he might have fallen. In any case, I was hoping for clearer skies after these thick clouds passed over, but I might be out of luck. It's looking sort of cloudier on the horizon, so I'm not sure what's going on there. We'll stick around. We got all kinds of other things we could be doing, but I did come here to try and get a photo or two, so we'll stick it out for a while yet before I give up. And in the meantime, this is not a bad little exercise in terms of calibrating my camera, if nothing else, just in terms of talking about. Okay, I'm seeing a bit of light on the clouds. The left arm, if you want, with this disc on it is pointing right up to this light, which I believe is a light from one of the buildings in Montreal reflecting off the bottom of the cloud. I suspect it's the lights from Place Victoria reflecting off the cloud there. I think I might, I'm not sure if I can go wider. I was using a different camera, a different lens, which could go to 20 millimeters, but I'm right now using a 28 to 70 millimeter zoom, and I think I have it about as wide as it can go, but let's see what we can do here. Yeah, we're at the widest it'll go, so I can't go any wider than this. I'm seeing a little hole in the clouds there at around where the moon was, so I might be able to see the moon again shortly. If I do see it again, I might swing up the camera. Okay, so there goes the guy with the unicycle thingy, or scooter, uniscooter, I guess. Guess we call it a uniscooter. And I'm just debating if I increase the exposure again. Oh, that's a boat. That is a boat. And I might be able to film that boat if it happens to be coming into the old port area. So I might just shut up and head to the waterfront to see if I can capture a boat passing. I don't see any moving lights on the river, but there's lots of trees in the way. Another helicopter going by there. And again, I probably should increase the exposure a little bit. But yeah, I'm very tempted, and we're running out of time here. We got like a little over a minute of recording time left in this 20-minute clip. So let's lighten things up. We'll go to 2000 ISO. We can hear Canada geese. You hear the Canada geese there? Oh no, that's seagulls. Excuse me. Sorry, that's seagulls. But there were Canada geese earlier, but that's typical seagull noise. So I just increased the ISO to 2000. We're at f7.1. We're at a 30th of a second, which is about as low as I can go in video. And yeah, I think I will let this just run out, but then I will change position. I'll walk up to the waterfront and get some photos of the skyline without Alexander Calder's manned 3 discs in the video, and see if I get a boat going through the video. That's it for now. Again, it is the 27th of March, 2023.